Hi, I am Dr. Adia Spinks-Franklin. I am a board certified developmental behavioral pediatrician. And today we're going to talk about how do you get your kids' sleep back on track for back to school. It is very, very common for kids and teenagers' sleep schedules to be completely thrown off over the summer. Generally, they go to bed much later than they typically do during the school year. And then the next morning, they sleep in much later than they would during the school year. This causes a change in the internal clock system, right? And leads to something called a delayed sleep phase. What that means is instead of going to bed and waking up with folks in your time zone, you're going to bed and waking up with folks in a completely different time zone. So I've taken care of many, 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 many kids over the years who have a delayed sleep phase. And I've had some kids, live in Texas, but they on Japanese time, right? They're going to bed and waking up with the kids in Japan. They might be on Hawaii time, right? Going to bed, waking up with the kids in Hawaii. And you cannot adjust and adapt your sleep that quickly come Monday morning, first day of school. So, what we recommend to parents is that the week before school starts or 2 weeks before school starts, start waking your little angel up 1 hour earlier each day. Do not allow them to take naps. Do not allow them to sleep at all during the day. They need to save all of their sleep for nighttime. If you wake them up an hour earlier on Monday, then what's going to happen is they should get sleepier an hour earlier Monday night. Then you wake them up an additional hour earlier on Tuesday. They should get sleepy and go to sleep even another hour earlier on Tuesday night. You're shortening how much sleep they're getting on purpose. The goal is to have your child sleep on their normal school schedule. For example, going to sleep at 9 p.m., waking up at 6 a.m. You want that sleep to be on track at least 4 days before school starts so that their brains and that internal clock can get readjusted. Now, some parents think, well, why don't I just put them to bed early? Well, they're not sleepy. If your child, your little sweet, precious angel, has been going to bed, going to sleep at midnight, and waking up at 10 a.m., they are getting 10 hours of sleep. That is good for their bodies and brains. It's just on the wrong time zone. You need to move those 10 hours so that it is, for example, 8 to 6. 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. So you've got to wake them up an hour earlier every day to get them on that schedule because if they're not sleeping till midnight and you put that baby to sleep at 8 or 9, they're going to be up for another 3 to 4 hours because their brain is not naturally asleep. And the more time you spend trying to go to sleep, you know this as an adult, the more awake you become because your brain begins to release stress hormones because it's not ready to fall asleep yet. So, what else do you do to help your baby sleep get better? Well, for one, about an hour before sleep time, the time that you want them to go to sleep, please turn all the screens off because screens keep us awake. The light from the screen, even with the blue filter, y'all, the light from the screen alerts our brain that it needs to be awake. And it actually stops the brain from making melatonin and other important sleep hormones in the brain. So stop the screens an hour before you expect your child to go to sleep. Parents will say, well, he need his phone to wake up in the morning. Well, they make these things called clocks. You can go to the dollar store and get a simple alarm clock. That's all that baby need. That baby don't need no $500 iPhone to wake them up in the morning. They can just use a regular clock. And I suggest plugging all electronics into the parents' bedroom. Don't put it in the kitchen because kids sneak and kids lie. Put it in the parents' bedroom. Lock it up in your bedroom and put it like a little chime or a bell on your door. So if you sound asleep and them little suckers try to sneak in your room and get their iPad or get their phone, the bell on the door will wake you up. That's really important so your kids can sleep. If your kid is not sleeping well and getting enough sleep, they are not going to do well in school academically. They will not do well behaviorally, will be cutting up in school because they're tired. And they also won't do well in athletics or after school activities. Your brain needs sleep. So, in summary, If your child has been sleeping late in the mornings during the summer, wake them up 1 hour earlier each day until they're on their regular sleep schedule. Do not allow them to take any naps or sleep at all during the day. Save all their sleep for nighttime. Turn off electronics an hour before the time you expect them to go to sleep, and plug those electronics up in the parents' bedroom rather than a common area of the house where kids can sneak and get their electronics. I hope these tips have been helpful, and you guys have a great back to school time. Thank you.